All right, so I'm Aiden.
And I'm Owen.
We'll start off with some background about Ship Island. Ship Island is an 11-acre island in Blue Hill Bay. Our main project here is Comintern Management and Research. Started in 1993, um, stopped for a few years in between, but we're still going strong here, and we have our record year in terms of nesting terns. We have on our mid-June census, we counted 1,392 nests. So that means we have approximately 1,400 breeding pairs of terns at least. Um, in terms of our research, I'll give a bit of an overview about what we do, some of the projects, maybe the geography here first, and then we'll head out and do some productivity plots. So productivity is essentially fencing off an area while they're still in the nesting stage, and then going through and assessing the status every 2 days, every one day. This tells us how chicks grow, different sort of growths as we do measurements. Also tells us nesting success. We do something called chick provisioning, where we watch different nests and see what food the adults will bring in to feed their chicks. Typically in past years, this is usually herring. We're seeing a bit of variety now, a bunch of sandlands, pollock, as well as a few other things. This can tell us what food is out there, how much nutrients the terns are taking in, also the frequency and size of what's being fed. We also work on surveying the island and our surrounding islands for other species of nesting birds. We do vegetation management and plots to assess the extent of invasive species here and how they would be affecting our artificial nesting plots, our tern colonies in the beaches. And additionally, we also do predator deterring, researching what predators are here, as well as deterring them to prevent any loss of the colony. I'll guess I'll give a 360 degree of the island here. I was thinking that could be good because I was going to explain about the islands. So this is Ship Island. We have Trumpet Island over here, as well as West Barge, East Barge, which you can't see. Trumpet Island has nesting gulls, as well as eiders, and American oyster catchers, which is only a few nesting pairs in Maine. They had a likely nesting failure this year, but they have succeeded in the past. East Barge Island has black guillemots, and West Barge has a quite large double-crested cormorant colony, which we also monitor from a distance. Anything else? That's it.
I guess another thing that is kind of new, it's a little interesting, is we're doing, I think it's new this year, is the GPS tagging. So back to the provisioning, we can actually have some terns that we captured. We tagged them with the GPS transmitters so we can see where they're going and actually getting the fish. So it's kind of cool to see like what they're bringing in and kind of where they're finding it around, Blue Hill Bay.
Yeah, so it's like an additional step up from the provisioning. So not only do we see what the terns are feeding, but we see where they're going to get that food and when, which will hopefully tell us a lot about this colony from the future. And we've been having some quite interesting data, as well as seeing that birds will quite leave Blue Hill Bay for a distance, as well as birds from Seal Island to Offshore Island are coming in near here, and we're picking up their transmitters. So unless there's any questions now, I think we can head out and do productivity plot. All right, ready, I guess? Yeah, so currently we've had our first tern fledgling. They took their first flight on the 13th of July. Right now we're seeing a lot of fledglings. The number has hit a peak. We're also seeing some birds that can fly much better than the others. Some are flying out to sea. Some are still quite awkward in flight. Still possible to catch and band. And still mostly hanging out in their natal area where their original nest was and getting fed there.
So before you guys head out, you want to explain what you walked off camera, you came back with some funny outfits.
Yeah, so well, not so much now, but common terns, more so than some other terns, more so than any other seabirds I've worked with. This is my first time working with common terns. They're quite aggressive. I learned quite fast that going out there without a hat with duct tape on top. Sometimes I put a plastic bag over it, but also because we collect fecal samples from the terns too. But are quite aggressive, and yeah, getting hit a few times in the head at high speed with the beak or the legs, would not want to have that happen again. I'll just say. And also in that stage, they also use pooping on us as a form of aggression. So it's always good to have rain gear or something else as an outer layer.
Yeah, we definitely still have like, I don't know if you can see, there's just like kind of always covered in poop. So it's pretty good to have something that you can wear every time so that you're not always getting pooped on. And also I put some it's a Nature Valley granola bar box in my cowboy hat, so it doesn't hurt as much when they hit you.
Yeah, but sometimes it still feels like getting whipped in the head, despite the they are quite tearing apart this hat, which was in like new condition at the start of the season. All right, so I think we'll head out now. We got all our equipment ready. We're going to be going to our second productivity plot, B plot. A few turns have blocks are still there, and we'll be fledging the next few days, so they're at a good, decent size for you. All right, so we're heading out on our trail here. This is the trail we usually get when we pull up on island in the boat. This is our trail to the beach. You can see our blinds over here. That's where we usually do our provisioning and nest watching stints. So the terns don't know we're there. And as we come up in the colony here, you'll see quite a lot of terns loafing on the beach there. Some of these are fledglings, some are adults. And they do quite a ruckus as they fly overhead. And yeah, this is the start of our colony in the northern end. The colony spans the full length of the island on the west side. You can see some of these young ones flying right here are recently fled. And sometimes the fledglings will try to fly away from us. Sometimes they'll go into the ocean, like this one right here, which is not great if it's poor weather, if it's quite cold. Yeah, so we find tern nests all over the place, essentially almost this low in the beach, up by that vegetation there, in the vegetation, farther up on our gravel plots. So they will nest in a variety of different habitats and different levels. But a lot of our early fledglings or chicks that haven't fledged yet are hiding up in that vegetation there. We provide some good cover from predators such as gulls. All right, so this is our plot. Here we have a nest. This is one of our later nests right here. This is an example of a nest that was laid quite well with a lining around it. Typically, a lot of tern nests will just be laid in a depression in the ground, a scraping, or even on just the bare ground. But this one was a well-made nest.
This is our plot here. You can see we have sort of fencing surrounding it. That keeps the terns in, still provides them enough cover and space to take off when they fledge. It also allows us to be able to find them, because otherwise they would move quite large distances, and it'd be possible to have a consistent measurement, nesting success studies for the colony. So here is one of our terns. This one is quite old. It will be fledging in the next few days, but it doesn't have a fully developed black adult plumage on the head yet, and possibly no longer tail feathers as well. It's a bit over 20 days old. And here we have some terns hiding in the corner, trying to escape us. And we put terns in this bin here until we can get everyone in the colony all situated. And it's a bit of a game finding the terns. As they're older, it's not as hard because they try to run away. The young ones will hide in the vegetation, playing hide and seek a lot. And this one is running back and forth. They'll often run away from us, and we have to chase them. Let's see if we can get this one. There it is.
Whoa. Not happy about it.
Yeah, so this plot had around 13 terns that reproduction made, but a few of them have fledged already, I believe. So we're just looking for anyone we can still find at this point. Each plot we generally have between 6 to 8 nests. Is a good number, that way we don't overload it. But we also get enough data. We have 8 plots in total. Now,
Like a lot of them.
yeah, we had at least 3 or 4 more our last visit here, which makes sense considering it's that time of year. So it's good to know that they've successfully fledged and are out and about. We'll do a final sweep here, make sure there's no one eluding us. All right, and this is herring, yeah? Yeah. Looks like this is herring. This is the most common food item that terns will bring in. Various sizes to feed their chicks. That's quite nutrient rich and a good food item. They can swallow it relatively easier than things like butter. So all right, looks like that's everyone from the plot. So I'll show you how we do measurements, maybe some banding if there's an unbanded bird in here. We're going to set up the phone. Bird bags, a wing roller, and 300 grams of solids to measure the weight with the bag. We do first is zero out to the weight of the bag. in a bit.
Yeah, these guys are so big that you gotta be careful that they don't jump out of the bag.
Start with our first chicks here. And so we just up the bags or get it out. That is read from here on the weight. So this bird weighs 137 approximately. And these birds start out at around 14 to 16 grams, this is your first measurement. And can get quite big. This is one of our larger ones. Typically, these adults are only maybe 110 to 120 here. And then we do something called wing chord, which is our wing measurement here. Apply the wing here and measure unflattened. So that would be 163. And then you read this little metal band here. Hopefully you can see. These are what we band returns with. Has a 9-digit code. 1392. Unless they get a bit dirty, they're hard to read. 1049. 2A. So this chick weighed 131. She gained around 7 pounds, 6-7 pounds. And then wing was around 12 millimeters. Grams, sorry, not pounds. Weight using non-scientific units. And then once these birds are all measured and ready to go, I'll just release them back into the flock. And they scamper off. Is there any other questions so far while we're processing chicks?
Can you explain what you mean by provisioning plot?
Like a productivity plot?
Provisioning. By provisioning, like the
plot?
Oh yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so provisioning is essentially we'll mark off 6 nests, 5 to 6 nests from each blind. We'll mark the chicks in those nests, band them, mark them with usually some Sharpie on the head, some sort of a marker indicator so you know what they are from a distance. Watch them remotely with binoculars, and see when the adult comes in, what they give them, approximate size based on the length of the bird's bill, what food item it was, such as that herring right there, what time, when they come in, when they leave, who is receiving the food, whether it be the A chick, B chick, C chick, which are the order that the eggs are born. Common tern nests usually have around 3 eggs. Some have 2. Some can have 4. We haven't had one with 5 this year. So yeah, we're essentially seeing on this sort of it's a group of nests that we can watch at one time what's coming in. And we can also look at when we measure those chicks, how they grow alongside what they're being fed. Just let the chicks go, and people just bumper off. Another last 2 chicks here.
Okay, like 146.
For this stick, essentially, it could have a bit more of a feather change, but it's almost got its adult plumage here. You can see it's got its wings ready to go. It has a quite nice tail, as well as its black cap on the head.
The quality when you guys tried to show us the first band wasn't the best. Could you maybe see it's come back a little bit? Could you try and show us the band again?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I noticed that. I think it's just a zoom. Is it 115 for our weight grams? Yeah, if I put in the birds in the bag, I'll keep some palms and then when the wings here, the bird cut quite a long wings. At 189. All right, so we'll see if we can put a band here. I usually hold some cards here. Got our little combo there. I don't know if you can read the digits. This is a metal federal band, goes in the right leg. It will stay with the bird for the rest of its life. Usually can't read it from a distance, but anytime this bird is captured in the future, anyone will be able to trace this back to us. Back to that it was born here, 2023, in this spot with these measurements.
Yeah, I guess back to the provisioning where the blinds are. You can see there's the two blinds right there. So we'll sit in there and we'll watch the nest from those and just see what they're getting at.
Yeah, so an overview of our data here. You can see that at all. Essentially, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ticks that have fledged within the last few days from this plot, escaped the plot and now flying around, and we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sticks that are still going. So it looks like we're about at the sort of a peak fledgling period, down half and half for this plot. All right, so now we did one of our plots with today. I'd like to show you how we band a bird, so we can go try to find an unbanded bird or fledgling, and see how that goes. See some older nests here that might not hatch. Sometimes they'll lay the nest in the seed line like this from the high tide. All right, so we have a bird in here. We're going to see if this bird, if it's a bit older, if this bird has a band already. And it does not. So we can band this bird. So, all right. Yeah. So this bird, you can see, doesn't have the black plumage in the head yet. The tail's not fully developed. So this bird is a bit younger. This bird is not quite 20 days yet. You think a little bit 15.
If I could hold the phone if you ran a band.
So this is Indian strip. Sort of our stack of bands here. They come like this, already open. We can pop them off. We go on the right leg here. That way we have some sort of consistency. And we make sure they're obviously right leg up. Tighten the band on the leg. And then we have these things called banding flyers. We go in the third hole. This allows it to tighten exactly in a circle, close. You don't have to worry about any sort of fishing line or vegetation or anything ever getting caught in that. The bird's too short. And then we just close the band. You can see we have a band now fitted with bird leg, perfectly closed, and ready to go. And it can hold on to this for its whole lifetime. It could be well over 20 years. There you go. I'll probably be like 10 days or so. It's running away now. All right, so
I guess I just got that guy to show a different.
yeah, this is a different age class. We can ban birds just once they reach 24 to 48 hours. We don't normally if they're not in flocks because they could have a mortality event and more likely to they pass away. You can see this is look at his wing here. You'll see sort of what we call molting. You can see those feathers coming in. It's those downy feathers, nice insulated downy feathers. These are the wing feather pins coming in. So the next few days, they'll start to shorten, the ends will start to open up, and you'll start to see what we call the flight feathers come in. But for now, this bird is still quite young and still relies on its parents quite a lot and will stay mostly towards its nest.
Yeah, I just found him.
Oh. Any other questions so far?
So, how many of these are tracked back to Ship Island, and what kinds of reporting takes place about the birds that you banned?
Could you repeat start of that again? Sorry, it's a bit loud here.
How many of the birds come back to Ship Island that you can use the bands to track them back to the island? And
Yeah, so usually takes a common tern a few years before they reach reproductive maturity. But then we do have many birds that'll come back down. We trapped around 52 adult birds this year, as well as other bands that we can read from a distance, or other birds that we can just catch off the ground. And we rebanned new adult birds, but we also caught approximately 7 recaptures. Most of them were actually from Manan Islands this year, which is interesting. Also shows like an interesting between colonies. We also have a young skip right here. It's hiding the whole time. So that's how well they can hide. But yeah, a few of our birds we captured this year were from around 4 or 5 years ago. They were born in Ship Island, and they tell us exactly when they were banded, who banded them, if there's measurements associated with that band, and any other interesting information you can get out about that. For adult terns, we use something called Friedel traps. They're kind of like a metal cage with a walk-in. We replace their eggs with decoys and then place it over the nest during the incubation stage. And then we can usually generally catch the adult tern that way. Some are a bit tricky, some are more aware of the trap from the trap before. Some of the terrain is a bit difficult, but that's our most efficient way for catching the adult terns, since it's hard to read the metal bands from a distance. Any other questions?
Do you ever hear back from other sites when they recapture birds that you've banded?
Yeah, so we have a general database in the Gulf and Maine area here, where we can see other islands in this area. Sometimes we haven't got data on one last year, but we've seen them around. Last year they caught a bird that had a tag on it from Argentina. So it shows that they can winter all the way down there and come up here, which is quite amazing. Really long journey for a bird, essentially, almost at the South Pole, almost, the northern extent of the hemisphere. Yeah. Anything else?
Do you track Do you track any other birds aside from the common terns?
Yeah. So let's see. Our common terns are our main nesters here. This is mainly a managed common tern colony. We don't have any other tern species here. We do have a few nesting species of shorebird and songbird. As there are other islands here. This island over here, you can sort of see in the distance, it's called Westbard, has around 300 or so cormorants nesting there, double-crested cormorants, and we can survey that from a distance. We also have trumpet right here, where we have quite a large gull population. We also have common eider ducks, which will come over here sometimes with the young, as well as the American oyster catchers. And we also have an island, probably won't be able to see it, it's over this hill. You can see our Ship Island sign there. But that has, I think, around 5 to 8 pairs of black guillemots nesting there. With alpha, which is related to puffins. And we can survey these from a distance. So I think now that we showed you what we would like to have done in the colony, we'll head out of the colony so we can talk a little bit more, answer any future questions without being screamed at by turns constantly. So there's a fledgling right down here. Walking along the shoreline. Doesn't seem quite able to fly yet. Right here, and we'll check the yeah, so this bird's banded, so we actually banded this bird in the last few days, but not quite as well as the others. See one of our fledglings trying to swim away from us here. Fledgling. Like a bird that just looks like it's learning to fly right here. You can see it's barely picking up to the ground. There it goes. And we'll see if it's banded, if I can get it. And no, so we could also band this other bird with you. Now we'll just let him go. And it's gonna run hard, even though we can see him quite plainly right there. I clearly think it's a good disguise. All right, so now we're back at our cabin here, and hope you enjoyed the run through there of the colony. And we'd love to hear any other questions.
To what do you to attribute this record tern colony pairing this year? Do you have any notions about that?
Yeah, so we don't really know overall. It's probably been intensive just watching over the colony for the last quite a few years, and it's gradually growing over time. We're noticing generally, we have no major predation, no mammals crossing over, no owls that cause the colony to abandon early in the season. And it does seem to be growing in time. We're a step up from last year. Also, I believe they've been noticing a slight downturn in nesting terns on some of our nearby seabird islands. So some of them have come over here and chose to nest here instead. And it does tend to fluctuate back and forth between islands like that in terms of which is more favorable for various reasons. Anything else?
Any noticeable effects of this year's tough weather? We've had a lot of rain and fog and moisture and so forth here in Rockland anyway. You have a beautiful day there, it looks like, compared to
Yeah,
us.
it's a first in a while. It's been quite poor weather. It's surprising the colony is doing so well, but here we are.
Does it hamper it doesn't seem to be hampering the colony at all and their ability to get food and shelter there anyway. So
Yeah, so we do have some chicks that do perish over time, unfortunately, but it is somewhat natural depending on conditions. We did have with the weather perhaps a few die off of chicks, but once they reach that fledging age, they really got that nice flight feathers and plumage in that they can protect themselves from the elements better. They're able to fly and move around. They're more mobile, less prone to predators. We did have a gull that was using the fog as sort of a way to get into close to the colony and try to prey on chicks without the other terns seeing it from distance and acting aggressively against it. So there were downsides, of course, but it seems overall the colony is doing quite well and has got through the weather.
great. Good news.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen to that colony if you guys weren't out there taking care of it?
Yeah, so over time, we see quite a lot of problems with predators gradually. Just our presence here would keep things like gulls, which are abundant over on Trumpet Island over there, from nesting here without being here, without deterring them and scaring away any predators and monitoring it. We'd have gulls start nesting here, and they'd gradually, over a few years, start to decrease the number of terns here. There could also be issues with mammals like minks or otter or raccoon crossing over to the islands. There could be owls as well, has been a problem in past years, causing the colony to abandon in early years and even full on just leave for the night. All right, anything else?
Where do you guys stay while you're out there?
Yeah, so we have this luxurious cabin right here. And yeah, this is our living space right here. It's quite small, but it is nice. And we have a picnic table out here. It's a small island, about 11 acres, I think. So yeah, we don't have that much space, but it does make it's very easy to get acquainted with everything here.
Long are you out
Yeah, it's
there?
nice to have a. Oh, sorry.
We're out here, I think, starting around the 12th of May and around 11th of August is when we finish. So we approximately 3 months, a little bit less. And it seems to correlate quite well with the length of the breeding season. So we get to see the whole life cycle of terns, which is quite gratifying to see them go from nothing to egg to young chick to fledgling, all in 3 months.
So what's next for you then, after this?
Yeah, I can't say I'm completely sure yet. I'm probably going to move down to do some work at an organization I worked with in the past in Peru in the Amazon. But yeah, it's constantly moving between different wildlife-based jobs.
So,
Yeah, and I'm probably just gonna move back home to Wisconsin. I don't really know what I'm doing there, but yeah.
well, you're not done there yet, so time to
No.
think. So, this is great. Thanks so much for everything that you're doing out there. This is fabulous. It's great to see, firsthand, what you're doing. Some of the sound was a little bit garbled, but we're gonna, put some captions on to the YouTube. So, but
Yeah,
it's really great to see, how you actually, you're tracking the birds and, the eggs, gathering the data, that's what we need. So it's great. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for watching this.
Yeah.
And I know Barbara has been lurking. Barbara, do you have any questions for these guys?
My question would be, where does the data go when you're done compiling it? Who gets the data? Do you use it? Will it ever be posted online so people who are interested in, just regular folks can see what you worked on this summer?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different systems and methods to enter it. But we have something called Seabird Finder, where essentially data from many different groups and organizations from around the Gulf of Maine will enter data. So there's like a general database there. So that's an easy place to look up bands and to look at what other people have done and really collaborate with that data. In terms of data that would be readily available, we do have, I'm not super familiar with the formats, honestly, that be available, but I can definitely look into that more and see what would be out there.
This is where I get to plug that you can always come into the visitor center. We're always happy to talk data with people. You can go online and read the Summer with the Seabirds blog. That wouldn't necessarily have all the specific data in it, but it would definitely give you some more insight into what these guys are doing every day. We also have some of the research posted from previous years. So we have some of that GPS data that they've talked about and things like that posted here in the center. And we do release a report every year on the status of all of the islands in the refuge system. And that can be made available to folks. We try and send it out to our e-news, so make sure you subscribe to that. And if you don't see it for whatever reason, you can always come in and pester us and we'll be happy to get you a copy.
Yeah, so any other questions?
Just only because I asked Matinic and it'll feel singled out if I don't ask everybody else. What made you want to give up your entire summer to get pooped on and puked on and tacked and all of this stuff by these little birds who nobody even really knows are out there? Why would you do that?
think that's part of the reason I enjoy it so much is because no one's aware about it. It's such an obscene thing to a lot of people. And it's not even a concept they would think about almost. It's also what I really enjoy about seabirds or nesting birds or nesting anything that I worked with for that matter. It's being able to see the full life cycle of something is really rewarding, and just seeing sort of the direct end result, a tangible benefit of us working here, going on to reproduce in the future, produce more terns, and replenish the populations.
Yeah, what he said.
Oh, that's not a
And
real.
I just want. Oh, that's not a real answer. I've never been. This is my first time, like, really even touching the Atlantic Ocean. So my friend sent me this job, and I thought I've never even really been on an island and worked with seabirds. So to say, a new experience just sounded like this was an incredible opportunity to try it. Being from the Midwest, I didn't really get a shot to come out here that often. So it's been a really cool experience. And it's the first time I've worked with chicks before or any nesting projects. So it's been really rewarding and super cool seeing everything out here.
Is
I
there,
think it's also just great to, be able to have this opportunity to be the only people living on an island, surrounded by ocean, beautiful landscapes, beaches, wildflowers everywhere. Not something you'd get normally.
is there anything else before we let you get back to all this important work that you do? Is there anything else that you wish somebody had asked about that you really want to talk about for 30 seconds here and just gush about anything in particular?
Do you have anything? No, I think we covered everything pretty thoroughly. What else?
So do you sometimes wish you could order in a pizza?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I wish they would just deliver it out here, boat out here and just drop it off.
Be nice and warm. Good.
They don't
Might be
have to
cold
have
by the time it gets here.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you guys taking the last hour out of your day to sit with us and give us an insight. Obviously, those of us here on the mainland will probably never get the opportunity to live on a seabird island like this. So this is awesome. Give us a little piece of your life.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for taking the time and watching this, and hope you enjoyed it.
Definitely. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was terrific. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. Have fun, enjoy, and keep going.